I've been editing content for 13 years, and I'm about to share with you 5 essential things that I think every creator needs to know to succeed on YouTube. And these are also the exact same principles that I've used to achieve hundreds of thousands of video views this year. But before we dive into it, I need you to know that these principles won't matter if you don't actually take action and apply them with every single video. So feel free to take notes and let's get into the video. The first thing I need you to do is stop worrying about which editing software you should be using and just pick one. Overthinking is procrastination in disguise. If you want to make sure you're picking the right software, just do this exercise. Go and study the videos of the successful creators in your niche. That's going to tell you the editing style that's working for that niche. So if the big creators in your niche, they're not doing very complex edits, then you don't need a complex software. A great software that I recommend to anyone, especially if you're just getting started because it's free, is DaVinci Resolve. But it's not all about the software, because the next thing that I'm about to share with you is going to have you creating videos that your viewers are addicted to. And this is something that I don't see getting talked about on YouTube very much, because it's usually just generalized or spoken very high level, just like study your target audience. So let me give you something actionable that you can start doing right now. So what you want to do is you want to learn the demographics and the psychographics of the viewer. That's going to have you understanding them better than they understand themselves. So you can get started doing this right now by just going to ChatGPT and asking what are the motivators, beliefs, attitudes, lifestyles, fears, and goals of insert your niche. So why is this important? Well, this is going to help you edit the video around the viewer's psychological interest. You can also use ChatGPT or even Google to be able to identify the demographics for people interested in your niche. Now, I wouldn't just rely on ChatGPT to get this information. I would definitely do some additional research, but you can get started right away by just using ChatGPT. Now, once you understand the psychographics, you probably have a few ideas for your next edit. But remember this: Walter Murch said, the best kind of editing is invisible. You don't notice it. You just get carried away by the story. So make sure every choice that you make in the edit exists to serve the story. Cuts, music, transitions, captions, effects, those are all decisions that get made in the edit, and they should all be done to improve the story. As cliche as it sounds, but still so true, less is more. And instead of listening to what some guru said about adding captions to all your videos because it helps with the algorithm, or do a bunch of fast, quick cuts because it helps retention, like really think about the decisions that you're making in the edit and how it's going to affect the viewer. Because if you're adding those captions or if you're doing those quick cuts, it could be working against you. Now, there's a framework that I like to use and all the big YouTubers are using, because somehow it's like already hardwired into our minds. I don't know the science behind it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what that framework is, and I'm going to also be using one of my favorite movies of all time, the first Harry Potter movie, and I'm also going to provide some examples on how you can apply this on YouTube as well. Spoiler alerts, if you haven't ever seen the first Harry Potter movie, what you need to do is stop watching this video right now, go watch that movie, and then come back. No, I'm just kidding. But if you want to, that'd be cool. So what we have here is a circle, and this circle represents your video from start to finish with various different steps. The first step in the hero's journey is the ordinary world. And this is when the main character is introduced and you get some context to what their normal world is before the adventure, like life before the adventure. And so in Harry Potter, you see this whenever Harry's living at the Dursleys' home before he receives his letter from Hogwarts. At this step in your YouTube video, you want to create curiosity, give the viewer context, pick shots that will pull the viewer in, make the viewer care, and then some examples of this would be like in a vlog, you could show your daily routine. Now the next step is call to adventure. This is when the character is presented with a challenge or adventure. And this is when he receives his acceptance letter to Hogwarts and learns that he's a wizard. On YouTube, this could be when you introduce a new project, goal, or product to review. Step 3 is refusal of the call. So this is when the character expresses doubt or hesitations. This is when Harry is skeptical and confused about the magical world and his new identity as a wizard, and also whenever he doesn't believe Hagrid when he tells him that he's a wizard. On YouTube, this could be whenever you yourself express doubts or concerns, but this would also be if someone else has doubts or concerns. Step 4 is meeting the mentor, and this is when the character meets a mentor who provides guidance or tools. This is after Harry accepts the call to adventure. Hagrid, his mentor, introduces him to the wizarding world and provides him with his Hogwarts letter and supplies. On YouTube, this could be when you consult an expert, use a new tool, or get advice from a friend. You can also explain what you learned from a book and how it applies to the journey. Step 5, crossing the threshold. This is when the character actually takes the first step on the adventure when they start their journey. This is when Harry boards the Hogwarts Express and officially enters the magical world. This could be when you start the main activity, like unboxing the product or beginning the project, or just starting the challenge. Step 6 is test, allies, and enemies. And this is when the character faces challenges, makes new allies, and encounters enemies. This is when Harry makes friends with Ron and Hermione, but faces many challenges like the Quidditch match, and he also encounters enemies like Draco Malfoy and Professor Snape. This could be when you document any obstacles that you face, people that help you, any enemies that you make, or any setbacks. Step 7 is approach to the inmost cave, and this is when the character prepares for a significant challenge. This is when Harry and his friends face the challenges under the castle to keep Professor Snape away from the Sorcerer's Stone. In your video, this could be when you get ready for a major task or event in your project or review, or exploring advanced features. Step 8 is the ordeal, and this is when the character faces their biggest fear or challenge. This is when Ron nearly dies during the chess game, and Hermione tells Harry that he is a great wizard and for him to go on without her. In your video, this could be when you tackle the hardest part of the project or challenge, address major flaws in the product, or a great failure or loss in the challenge. Step 9 is the reward, and this is when the character achieves their goal and earns a reward. This is when Harry enters the chamber, and he realizes that he's been rewarded with the stone already in his pocket. And knowing that he is the one worthy of the stone, he gains a new level of self-confidence. The reward in your video could be benefits of facing the character's fear, showing the completed project, successful result, or the best features of the product. Step 10 is the road back, and this is when the character begins their journey back to the ordinary world. So this is when Harry learns that Voldemort had possessed Professor Quirrell to steal the Sorcerer's Stone and murder Harry. He realizes that he can't return home and that he has to keep the stone away from Voldemort at all costs. In your video, this could be when you wrap up the project, summarize your review, or start heading home in a travel vlog, or realizing that there is still one thing left to do to complete a challenge. Step 11 is resurrection, and this is when the character faces one final test. This is when Harry discovers that he has the power to defeat Voldemort by touching him. This defeats Voldemort, but puts him on the verge of death. Then he is ultimately resurrected when he awakens a few days later in the infirmary. In your videos, this could be the final test in the challenge, tasting and reflecting on the cooking experience, or reflecting on final challenges or realizations about the project or product. Step 12, return with the elixir. This is when the character returns to the ordinary world, having changed and bringing something valuable back to the ordinary world. When Harry recovers, he is publicly praised by Dumbledore, and a large amount of points are awarded to Gryffindor, which ultimately leads to winning of the House Cup and Harry returning to his ordinary world, having changed. You could do this on YouTube by sharing how the experience has changed you or improved your life, and offer insights or tips to your viewers. At this point, you're probably done editing your video, but you're not actually done, because there's one more thing that you need to do to take your videos to a whole nother level. And you don't need a fancy team or anything to do this. All you have to do is find someone else to watch your video. Now, before you click off the video, hear me out. Have you ever shown your content to someone else, and as soon as they started watching it, you immediately started regretting some of the decisions that you made in the edit? And do this with anyone. You can do it with friends, you can do it with your mom, dad, it doesn't matter. You can pay someone to watch it if you wanted to. Just kind of extreme, but just get feedback. And if you can't get anyone, last resort, wait 24 hours and then watch the video again, and you're gonna go into it with a lot more of a clear head, because you're not going to be as attached to the content. Now, none of these things matter if you don't have the right gear. So watch this video next to find out just that, and I'll see you in the next one.